It's time to talking about 1969 and back in the day and things like that. It's time to talk to Sonia from BIA Insurance Agency. As we every Wednesday at 8 o'clock at this time, we find out what's going on in the world of insurance. And today, that's something very, very cool. There's a lot of car shows that take place and things like that. There's a lot of prize collectible cars. How do we insure classic cars? So, Sonia, how do we insure classic cars?
That's a good question, and we have several products available, and it's really interesting how many different kinds of vehicles qualify for these programs. They need to at least be 19 years of age or older, but a lot of things, I mean, we know about the antique autos that we're picturing when we're thinking of an old vehicle, but even vintage motorcycles, farm tractors, military vehicles, hot rods, exotics, kit cars. There's lots of different types of vehicles that qualify under an antique auto or a classic auto policy. And the important thing is the difference between just driving an old car, like you and I have done a few times, and having an antique auto. These vehicles that qualify for these special programs and special pricing need to, in addition to being at least 19 years old, they need to be only used in exhibitions, parades, things like that, not driven on a regular basis. And then they also have to be kept in a fully enclosed locked garage and to be in really good condition. And that's if you want an antique auto or a classic auto policy, typically those are the requirements, and then you qualify. And the difference between just listing it on your regular policy and having a antique auto policy, the biggest difference is the pricing. The premium is so much less on an antique auto policy because it's anticipated that you're not going to be driving it very often and that it's going to be kept locked up like we talked about. And so the pricing is a lot less, and then there's special coverages that are designed for this special type of vehicle.
I know there's a lot of clubs out there. There's Corvette clubs. There's a 57 Chevy club around, and so if you have one of these vehicles and you don't get it out very often, it's probably a good idea to call Sonia at BIA Insurance or any of the agents that work with these special programs and find out if your car qualifies, because I guess, and I don't know a whole lot about this situation, Sonia, but if you've got a 57 Chevy, just take for instance, or something that's a very classic type car, I'm thinking, finding parts for it and stuff like that's kind of hard. So you really want to make sure you got the right kind of insurance.
Absolutely, and talking about those clubs and things like that, those people take really good care of their vehicles. They like you said, they get the right parts. They restore them to how they were originally, and you don't want to find out that you have the wrong kind of insurance on something that you put so much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into. So definitely ask about it, and I can't help but stress that you're going to pay a lot less premium on a classic auto policy than you would listing it on your regular auto policy. We've insured a lot of different. We've insured a tractor. We've insured an old ambulance. All kinds of interesting things that that people buy and put their time into. And you do not have to be a member of a club to qualify for one of these policies. Although a lot of the ones that we write are in the clubs, that is definitely not a requirement.
One thing I was sitting there thinking about, a lot of times when you have an insurance policy, you have to get like a total replacement type, so if somebody steals it or it's totaled or something like that. Is that a little different with a classic type car due to the way these things are valued?
Yeah, the thing is that a regular unendorsed auto policy for any damage to the vehicle, including theft or collision or hail damage, various things that can happen. A normal policy is going to pay actual cash value, which means it's going to take into consideration depreciation. And so these policies for the antique autos that are written, while antique autos depreciate, it's not like you would have an old 1950 pickup that was rusted and sitting out in your field, you wouldn't want to cover that for physical damage, but you would want to cover your auto that you put so much, your classic auto that you put so much time into. And so there's a stated amount policy that can be written so that you're going to get it back into the shape that it was in before something happened to it.
So if you've got a classic type vehicle, I mean, I've got lots of friends that have them, and these are the kind of vehicles that are your pride and joy. You want to make sure it's covered right. That's the main thing, is to make sure that you have the right type coverage. That's why you need to talk to professionals in the insurance business when it comes to covering things like this. So, Sonia, if folks need to get a hold of you guys and say, look, I've got an older, like you say, tractor, motorcycle, truck, I've got a classic car, whatever the case may be, and I'm really not sure if I'm insured right, what do they need to do?
Well, there are several ways you can get in touch with us. You can call us, 549-2525. You can come see us. We're on the second floor of the Sierra Bank building here in downtown Graham. Or you can visit us on our website, which is www.bryanins.com. And just reach out to us, and we would love to help you. And before we sign off, I do have one tip, Rick, for people that own antique autos. And of course, it's July now, so nobody's thinking about this. But every year at prom, if anybody's familiar with prom in Graham, it's a big deal to have an interesting vehicle to take to prom. And what we recommend is that you don't loan your classic vehicle to a high school student, but that you offer to chauffeur them in it, because that's just a little tip that I have, and I'm sure everyone can understand the reason for that. But that's something that we get questions on almost every year right around prom time.
So be careful of those classic vehicles, because they are your pride and joy. All right, thanks for calling in this morning and talking over classic vehicle insurance, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday and see what else we can get ourselves into.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.